Row for Show Productions presents Brothers Being Brothers, a lifestyle podcast. Welcome to the Brothers Being Brothers podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Hamilton Jr., a.k.a. Row for Show. And I got my boys, Macro Nay and King Robinson, a.k.a. K-Rob, with me. And this is a new podcast that we're doing. And, you know, this podcast, we're three brothers we're brothers. And, you know, with this podcast, now, what I do is, you know, I work in airport communications. And, you know, I'll let them go through and I'll let them, you know what, matter of fact, I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves before I go any further. So, fellas, why don't y'all introduce yourself?
All right. This is your boy, Mac Ronay. I'm in internet sales. Been married for 15 years. What else you need to know?
I mean, what is, well, from that, King, you go, and then I'll come back to you.
All right, well, what up? My name is King Robinson Jr., better known as K-Rob, K-Rob Jr., whatever you prefer. Yeah, man, I am a 35-year-old musician, producer, husband, and father, you know, and just excited to be here, excited to be on the podcast with these great young men, black young men. So, you know, excited, looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. And don't let King's humble nature fool you. This brother's a beast on the drums, man. Don't let that humble disposition fool you. But anyway, man, for the reason for this podcast, man, is, you know, we see so much stuff going on in the world, you know, especially when it comes to black men. And we really want to give y'all our thoughts and perspectives on life and all aspects of life. There's so many things going on right now. I mean, you know, 2020 taught us that, you know, expect the unexpected.
Absolutely.
What sets us apart with this podcast is, you know, basically we're coming at you from our perspective. And, you know, we've been fortunate enough, I know especially for me, I've been fortunate enough to run into guys like Macro, Nay, and King, you know, for a large part of my life, who were, you know, really good guys. They were reasonable. They were men who, they had purpose in life. They had a vision. And, you know, we all make our mistakes. We all have our bumps in the road, but they learn from them. And, you know, I knew these were two fellas that I could learn from. And I've always been fortunate to be able to have men in my life that I could learn from. So with this podcast, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about life. We'll talk about finances. We'll talk about love, marriage, dating, sex, whatever the case is. I mean, we're going to talk about life and all its aspects. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is the stereotypes surrounding brothers. And, you know, I know we talked about this, you know, a few weeks ago, guys, where a lot of the stereotypes surrounding black men, you see it all the time in Hollywood. A lot of time we're portrayed as drug dealers, and we're portrayed as, you know, baby daddies,
thugs,
and, you know, thugs and guys who,
yep.
You know, we stick ourselves in any and everything that's willing, and, you know, we dip and dash. So, you
basically
know,
the guys who run to the opposite side of good.
right.
You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know for a fact, and y'all know for a fact too, that it's guys out here that's handling business. My bad, King. What was you gonna say?
No, I was just agreeing. I totally think there are a lot of black people, black guys, black men in general, that are handling business. Even, I'll take it even further, even black young men. Like, there are some black teenagers that are doing like amazing things, you know, even outside of sports, right, that, you know, aren't quite as highlighted as, you know, somebody who's 16 dunking on every kid that they're playing against, or somebody who's catching 40 touchdowns as a high school junior or whatnot. Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of elite, great black men that are on their way or there, you know, because Rome wasn't built in one night, so every black man can't be everything. And I mean, that's white, black, red, Hebrew, right, yeah, Jew, Gentile, exactly, whatever you want to be called, Indian, you know, whatever. Nobody's everything overnight. So, but back to the point, it's like, it's a lot of black guys, definitely in our age range, that are like doing some amazing things. And of course, it's easy to feel like it's nothing because you don't get there's no fame, so to speak, that's kind of speaking to what makes you cool. And really, I mean, we don't need fame to be any kind of great person, you know.
No,
So,
no, not at all. And one thing with society is we've done a great job of idolizing athletes and idolizing entertainers. And part of that, I mean, yes, it's all fun and games, but at the end of the day, I think one thing that we've done, and I keep knocking this table, my bad, my video is shaking. One thing we've done as society, we've idolized these guys, and I think a side effect of that is we've almost like told people that basically the only way to be successful is to be this guy that's on TV, that's making all this money, that's can throw a ball for 4,000 or 5,000 yards, or can catch a ball, or can dribble a ball down the court. And in reality, the majority of men, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, the majority of them won't be an athlete. The majority of them won't be an entertainer. There's only going to be so many Jay-Z's. There's only going to be so many LeBrons. Well, with those two cats right there, we'll never see another LeBron. We'll never see another Jay-Z. But there's only going to be so many guys that come through an avenue like that and make that kind of impact on society. But
true.
For the rest of us, what can we do to have just as sizable of an impact on society, even though we may not be as well known?
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off though,
No, you're
but
good.
I think it's to the point of highlighting the things that people don't see that young men are doing, that is very positive in the community. You sit there and you say, yeah, we do idolize these basketball heroes, football heroes, but the fact is that that's what we're programmed to do since birth. You know what I mean? And that's how people want it. They want us playing
absolutely.
basketball. They don't want us sitting at a real table, making real money or calling real shots.
Right.
So I think
go
I think idolizing or highlighting people who are in those positions, making those shots, give kids a different perspective and something else to look up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to chime in on that, like for me, I think they want us to be sometimes only ball players because there's still a certain amount of control within having you be a ball player, because now you're just a glorified rich employee rather than being a CEO or an executive or an owner of a business where you say, you know what, like, no, I have the same amount of money as a owner or a basketball owner, and here I am, I'm going to employ these people, and it's not just you're going to employ black people, because if you're equal rights, the same way we want equal rights, you employ white people, you employ Hispanic, you employ every other race that is available that meets the criteria of being employed in those positions. But I think sometimes I think it's a certain way to kind of keep a clamp on it, because it's like football players only make certain contracts, and if they hurt, then they can't do this, and then a percentage of them become broke, and it's because we make the money so fast. I mean,
exactly.
We've all made. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Exactly. So who's there telling these football players, hey, you need to go ahead and get you a academic scholarship on top of that sports scholarship. So if that sports don't work out, you have something to fall back on. No one's telling these people that. No one's educating.
Yeah.
So
and
just
going back
piggyback off your point.
No, you're right, because I read a stat that they said 70% of all professional athletes are broke within their first 5 years of retirement, which is a staggering number. Because when you hear about these contracts, man, I mean, you hear about NFL players that get these. Well, the NFL is a bad example when it comes to contracts, because with the way they structure their contracts, they'll put these flashy numbers that say 5 years, 6 years, $250 million. But in reality, that contract may only be worth like 125, 130.
Yeah, it's a
breakdown
all
the when you break
a bunch of
cut
things
out
that
all
go
the
into
fluff.
it to be guaranteed. But you know what? Like, I can applaud basketball because contracts are guaranteed. But you know what? One thing I learned is that they actually do, as rookies, for a lot of sports entities, they make you take like these classes about like money saving and all that. And so if they're making you take classes, then that means like there's some kind of cultural disconnect. Well, as Black people, man, we're not doing enough of telling people about certain things, man, and we got to make choices as in overall to put ourselves in positions that we don't have to like work 93 jobs and we can't teach our kids about nothing, and so we just throw them to the wolves and say feast the famine. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you know, and when we get to that point, because everything you do has a cause and effect to it, and we like to think that the little ones don't and the big ones do, but it's like actually all of them do. When there is more responsibility and accountability, and overall, like things will become better. We'll be able to like actually teach young men about how to be a saver, man. Because my dad taught me things about it, and he made a lot of money when he was growing up, but my dad wasn't the absolute dopest with his money management. And that's something I can talk to him about in his face. I'm not saying nothing that we haven't had a conversation about. Right. My mom used to be like, we shouldn't do that. And my dad be like, we'll be good. And, at some point it kind of nicked him in the butt a little bit. But seeing that, and I think all I had to do was need or want money. One time I didn't have it, I was like, yeah, I know what that feel like. And it could have been to buy a burger. It could have been in high school. I don't even remember when it clicked for me, but I've always been a little more cautious about how I spend my money. It's a little more premeditated. Call me scared, call me whatever, but I've always had money to take care of the necessary things I need to take care of. So at some point I'd like to think, you know what? All right, cool. I'm smart about it.
But check out that perception. Check out that perception. You just say, call me scared. Call you scared because you know how to save your money. You know what I mean? That's the perception of someone. I got money. It's mine. I'm gonna go do all the things I wanted to do. So I mean, that's just the type of perceptions that we're trying to overcome. As far as these stereotypes of how to manage your money and yet still not look like a scrub, I guess, or whatever perception you want to call it. You know what I mean? And that's sad.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you, man, because I think we reciprocate like a certain amount of things with like having money. You know what I'm saying? And I, shout out to hear Ocho Cinco say that he's like, man, I've always bought replica. Because he was like, man, if a woman wanted me, she wanted me because I was Ocho Cinco, not because I had on a Rolex. Right, and not that life is about like chasing women or seeing, if you can get the best version of a Kim Kardashian or or Megan Good or whoever or what have you that we would deem like somebody worthy of having based on these looks and this glamour. But I think it's more or less about the fact that he said, you know what? And I got a plan. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
I'll buy a fake Rolex. I'll pay $330 to buy a Rolex that kind of ticks the exact same way. You won't even know it's fake. And cool. We'll run it like that. Stay away from my wrist. Don't get too close. And
don't get it wet because it's gonna turn green.
Yeah. So,
but and talking about perception, and this will transition into our first topic. The perception of, I guess, success, and I guess more to a bigger degree, the perception of us as Black people, especially Black men. When you were talking about, we were talking about earlier about how we idolize athletes, and people think that they're supposed to just be able to dribble a ball or throw a ball. I know y'all remember the Fox News TV host Laura Ingraham when she told LeBron to shut up and dribble.
And Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and to Kevin Durant as well. And that just goes to show how little they think of, how little a lot of America thinks of these guys, because they think that just because these are big, strong Black men and they have all this money, that's basically you were just put here for our entertainment. We don't want to hear anything that you have to say regarding society, the society that you live in and that your kids have to come up in. We just want you to entertain us. We want you to be this big, strong, burly Black dude, dribble the ball and catch a ball, but we don't want to hear your opinion. And when it comes down to the perception, that perception plays into what happened yesterday. Because one issue, and I know y'all gonna have a lot to say about this, so I'll keep mine short. But one issue that's been brought up about the events that took place on the Capitol building yesterday is the fact that when Black Lives Matter protesters were having peaceful protests. Now, the majority of them were peaceful. Yes, some people got out of hand in some of them, but the majority of Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful. And we saw the images, we saw the videos of police in riot gear. We saw the videos of police, assaulting these protesters. And the only reason why these people were protesting in the first place is because we're literally telling them, stop killing unarmed Black men and women.
Violence and brutality.
And, that's why the Black Lives Matter protests were going on. That's why people were saying, say her name, say his name. That's why Black Lives Matter was upset. That's the whole reason why Black Lives Matter even started. Now we have this group yesterday of Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, whatever you want to call it. We have these people who stormed a federal building, a federally protected building. And I never would have thought that I would see the day that, or see the images that I saw yesterday. Now, with all that being said, I wasn't shocked at all. And,
Nope.
When I kept watching the news coverage, I know one thing I kept hearing was, this is not America. This is not the America that I know. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, this is America. I mean, this country was founded on violence. This country was founded on genocide. This country was founded on hatred. It was founded on bigotry. Let's not act like America's history is spick and span, because it's not. America has a very dark and bloody history. But going back to the perception, it was the fact that when I saw the videos of the police letting these protesters in, like literally removing the gates and letting these people in, I saw a video of a cop helping one lady down a set of stairs. I saw another video of a cop taking selfies with some of these protesters on the Capitol steps. Mm-hmm. And it's like, bro, wait a minute. Now when Black Lives Matter was going on, I saw some videos of Black Lives Matter protests who were literally just standing there not saying nothing to the cops. And the cops were throwing them on the ground, hitting them with batons, gassing them hitting them with the tear gas, hitting them with rubber bullets. And here it was, these people were able to infiltrate and basically perform a surrection, an act of treason. They were able to access the chamber. They were able to access the chamber building or the chamber offices. They were able to get into Nancy Pelosi's office and all this other stuff. And I see this and I'm like, man, this is insane that these people were able to do that. But the big reason why they were, because the cops didn't see them as a threat. They automatically see us as a threat. And I realize every cop is not bad. I realize every cop doesn't think like that, but far too many of them do. And that's the thing. That's really the takeaway that I got from yesterday, was the fact is like, wow, people, I know a lot of the commentators kept asking, how was this possible? And I'm like, well, you got to understand how this was possible. This was possible because these people aren't viewed as threats. Black men and Black women are viewed as threat automatically. And especially when it comes down to these athletes, the thing with these athletes is the fact that the very thing that makes them enticing and entertaining on the field and on the court is the very thing that can get them killed off of the court or off of the field. Aggression. The fact that they're bigger than most people, the fact that they're faster than most people, they're stronger than most people. That's the scary thing. So, having said all that, I want to get y'all's thoughts on what happened yesterday and just get your perspective on it.
Well, I think the first problem is calling them protesters. They're not protesters at all. They're rioters. They're terrorists. I think that the first, and two, I don't know if anybody else saw, but they were flipping through images, and they had the guy in Nancy Pelosi's desk, and had another guy in the chamber jumping over a pew, and this guy had zip ties. Why do you have zip ties?
Right.
What are you doing with zip ties? Right. You're not just coming to make protests. This was a terroristic threat.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And they found pipe bombs around the Capitol building. And there was the one young lady. I know there's been reports of 4 people dead. I know I saw the video of the one young lady who was trying to climb through the window, and the police officer shot her. And I saw a lot of the responses on social media today that really kind of just took me back, because a lot of the responses that I saw, of course, there was people on there making their jokes. There were people on there saying, hey, it's unfortunate that this young lady died. But you know, in reality, you know, she really kind of brought it on herself. But another reaction that I saw was the fact that there were people that automatically said, "Hey, she was unarmed. Why did the police shoot her?
Because
You know,
she was
she
breaking
wasn't
into a
doing
federal
anything."
building.
Right. I'm like, dude, she was breaking in a federal building. And on top of that, you know, based on things that we've seen from this young lady, she did not go there with the best of intentions. Nobody was there with the best of intentions.
Oh, did she
But
have
when people, oh, go ahead,
did she have
King.
like a Trump flag or something wrapped around her?
Yeah, she had a Trump. It was a Trump flag or
They
some
all
kind of
did.
backpack or something.
Yeah, but I think this one seemed a little more like what's the word when you use flagrant, as far as like trying to maybe get through the window and let it be known that I think that's what it is. But you know what's funny? Well, going back to what y'all saying, even outside of the death, is it don't matter what color you are. Anything you do in that nature, like you said, is terroristic, man. You don't even have to be a Trump dude. At this point, we don't even have to call them Trump supporters. We just call them terrorists. We'll just call them domestic terrorists because you're doing it in house.
Right.
Like you're domestic rioters and you're all of these things, man. And I definitely am one of the guys who advocate for black people, because I don't think we're all bad.
No,
but
not at all.
You know what I'm saying? But I like culture, but I'm not with a bunch of culture ideas. So for me, I would never want to like make it seem like it's you know, a white black thing. But like, yeah, of course, yesterday was the majority white, and let's just be real about it. And it just sucks because, like you said, you know, and all due respect, if it was black people, man, it definitely would have been tear gas. They wouldn't have let them in, man.
Massacre.
Yeah,
it
would
have been a massacre,
bro.
Yeah,
if that would have been Black Lives Matter protesters, bro, they wouldn't have even made it inside
up the stairs. Yeah, it wouldn't even made it upstairs.
I mean, we saw how they. Like, matter of fact, going back to that, we saw how they acted over the summer when they were just walking by there, and you saw the images of all those cops in riot gear standing there like in an act of intimidation. And
some of the Black Lives Matters people wasn't even black, and that's what I was trying to get to. Like some of them ain't even black, and they was tear gassed or hurt or you know weaponized, however they were, you know, whatever. Like the what are those things? The
batons, billy clubs.
Yeah. And so you know those things, man. So at the end of the day, man, it's like you know it's easy to you know make it a black white thing, but it's a lot of people that are a Black Lives Matter or whatever thing, and you know for those people who wasn't black that was getting hurt at the expense of trying to protest about equality, you know it sucks. But yeah, yesterday was a tragedy, man. Actually, when I was 16, I had the opportunity to sit where the House of Representatives meet. If anybody knows, you know that that's sacred. Only a House of Representatives will ever get to sit in those places. Right. It's actually not even up for like a tour, none of that. And I was elected to this thing, National Young Leaders Conference. I was like in the 10th grade, 15, 16, and the House of Representatives of the area I lived in back in New Houston, that they allowed us to go sit at where the House of Representatives, you know, where they meet and stuff. And I thought that was cool. But yesterday, like, it kind of became extremely surreal, even though that was like, I mean, literally over 20 years ago, like a place that is so sacred, man. Dude, I remember going through all of these security and all of this stuff. And this was before cell phones was hot. I didn't even have, you know, and it's like all of the stuff that we had to go through even to visit the area. Like how they got in there like that, you know, it like you said, it, you know, it's almost like an inside job.
Yeah.
It's almost like, hey, you know, we coming. What's up? Oh yeah, I got you. We in. You know.
But you know what? It was building. They had plenty of time. This was all on social media for a few days. Yeah. I mean, for our government not to see that coming and then not be prepared at the Capitol is just it's blatant, like disrespect, what I feel like, because had it been, you know, Black Lives Matter, they would have shut that shit down. Or sorry, they would have
No,
shut
you
that
good.
down down Pennsylvania Avenue before they even got up the stairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just frustrates me how there's a double standard.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
time.
And that's the thing is that, I was talking to one of my buddies earlier, and he was kind of in so many ways he was asking, Ro, what is it that we're missing? And he's a white guy, but he's a really, really good dude. And and it's like I told him, he was like, well, dude, how much time do you have? Because the thing about it is, this is what we've been saying. And when I say we, I'm talking about black people in America. The sad thing is that it's taken all of this to shake up a lot of people's conscience. It's taken all of this to shake up a lot of people's vision. You really kind of started to see, I guess, a change in the tide, when George Floyd got killed. And,
Exactly.
The thing about that is, the thing that made that hit the way it hit was the fact that, and so many other instances, we're saying, hey, this cop did this cop did that, da 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 da, but it's not on video. That entire ordeal was on video. You literally saw this man's life leave his body as this officer had his knee on his neck. I mean, the guy's handcuffed. He's no threat. He's telling you he can't breathe. And you hear the life leaving this man's body. You see this man die on camera. And it's sad. And I say all that to say this. It's sad that it's had to take extreme measures like the George Floyd incident, like the Jacob Blake incident, like yesterday's incident. It's sad that it's had to take this for a large part of America to see what we've been trying to say for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess if you want to call it a silver lining, I guess it's the fact that all of this is, starting to get exposed, and people are starting to see like, hey, these people, they're not lying. These people, they're not just making this stuff up. Now, of course, there's always, some bad apples in every bunch. We get it. And,
Exactly.
Black Lives Matter we're not even saying that everybody is innocent. All we're saying is, stop killing people that are unarmed. I mean, if a person is doing something that causes them to get pulled over, okay, we're not asking you to excuse these people's behavior if they deserve to be punished. We're not asking you to do that. We're literally asking you not to kill this person that doesn't deserve to be killed. Now, if a brother is out, pointing a gun at a cop and he's trying to shoot a cop, okay, well, naturally a police officer is going to do what a police officer is trained to do. But in a case like George Floyd, in a case like Alton Sterling, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, all these other cases, we're literally asking you to change your perception, change how you view us, change how you operate towards. We're asking you not to kill us if we don't deserve to be killed.
That's
I mean, that's the problem.
That's the problem. You said the problem. Well, you said how they're trained. They're going to do how they're trained. That's the problem. How they're trained.
That's another element. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have to remember everything flows back to like just the origin of any makeup. It starts at the head. I mean, like it flows down. Anything that starts one way starts however whoever built it, like it's gonna trickle down
from generation to generation.
It's gonna trickle down based on who started, and and the difference is the process can always start over, because now you can have a new head, and it's gonna trickle down. Whenever you get a new head, it's gonna create a new trickle. So I don't want somebody to think, well, Bob started 100 years ago, he was a great guy, and then his son took over at 55 years, and then it became bad. Well, then that means the son was bad, not the dad. And you can't make the dad bad now that it's trickling down the way the son did, because the son is going to come in and actually like set up new shop. Yeah. So, we definitely have to just be conscious that, and remember, like it flows down, like you said, macaroni, like you said, that, people have to remember that like these guys are trained, and, clearly they're trained to see a color. It's funny. kind of sometimes hate to hear that I don't see color. Because no, I see a white person, I just don't judge them
Exactly.
based on their color. Like, no, actually we should see the difference, because actually that is what people make the world go round. And not one person is one color, nobody's fingerprint is the same, nobody's DNA is absolutely the same, and to that extent. So at the end of the day, no, I see a difference, but in our differences, I don't treat you any different. You know what I'm saying? And I would like to hear more people say, you know what? Maybe I don't understand what it is to, maybe I enjoy my white privilege, or maybe I enjoy whatever privilege I have.
The social status.
But help me understand what it is to be like that, or help me understand, or let's figure out the best way to find a common ground, rather than to say I don't see color, I don't see privilege. Well, yeah.
Everybody sees color, because obviously we're all different colors. So exactly. Like you said, I see a white person, I see a Hispanic person, I see an Asian person. I just don't judge them based off of their color. I judge them based off of their character and how they treat myself and others.
Exactly.
Now one thing, and King, I just lost it. I had a really good question. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. You were talking about how we need to have the conversation about our differences. That's another thing that a lot of Black Lives Matter people are saying. Look, we just want to have the conversation, and we just want people to hear where we're coming from. We want people to acknowledge that, white privilege exists. And, we just want people to understand that, hey, we're saying, look, this is what's going on. White supremacy is a real deal. White privilege is a real deal. All we're doing is asking you to hear us out, open your mind, and listen to where we're coming from. That's the only way that any of this is going to even begin to start to turn around, is people. And I guess that goes back to us as a country. When I say us, because we're all Americans, but it goes back to people being willing to admit that this country's history is tainted. This country's history is blooded. And you could even put that even going all the way back to the education system. Because I remember when I was coming up, Christopher Columbus was portrayed as a hero in kindergarten and first grade. And, we were told that, hey, he discovered America, and, he did this, and it was the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and they did this, and they were heroes, and da-da-da-da. And then you come up later on in life and you realize that Christopher Columbus was a monster. Christopher Columbus was a murderer. Christopher Columbus and his boys, they were wrecking shop. And then it even goes back into, you could say, the education system as well as Hollywood, because I remember as a kid playing cowboys and Indians, and we were taught that the cowboys were the good guys and the Indians were the bad guys. And then when I realized the history of where all of that came from, it's just like, oh my God, what are we teaching these kids in schools? What are
we basically call monsters heroes, and the good people bad guys.
The people that were here before them, we've portrayed them as the bad guys. Now, to show you how ruthless that is, not only am I going to come over here and take your land that you've been living on for centuries or however long, I'm going to come over here and take this land. I want this land. I see it. I'm going to take it. And I'm going to, murder a lot of the native people. And not only that, but throughout the course of history, I'm going to paint these people as the bad guys. And, so America has a lot. If America truly wants to turn this around, and this is why you keep hearing that term systemic or systematic racism, because it is a system. You see it in the education system. You see it in the real estate industry. You see it on job interviews. I was talking to a friend earlier where I read an article about he was a Hispanic gentleman. He couldn't find, he was having a hard time finding jobs. He kept marking down on the application. He was trying to be honest. He kept marking down on the application where it asked for your race and nationality and all that. He marked down, Hispanic male. And the dude's name was like Jorge something. I can't remember his last name. So, just out of nowhere, he really kind of started thinking like, man, you know what? I think I'm gonna switch this up, and because he had a funny feeling that he was being passed over, because the dude was qualified. in some cases more than qualified for the jobs he was applying for. And he had this inclination to switch stuff up on his application. So on his application, he starts marking that he's a white male and that his name was George, I think it was like George Jones or something like that he started writing. When he switched it to white male George Jones, his phone lit up. So, you know, when we see articles like this and, you know, and this dude had proof. I mean, he had video to go along. He documented what he was doing. So when you see stuff like this and you hear the stories of, you know, Black families that walk into banks and they have better than good credit to be able to qualify for a home loan, but they're getting denied for a white family whose credit is not as good. When you see these kinds of things and you hear these kinds of things go on throughout the different industries, throughout the different time periods of America, we see just how deep the system of oppression, the system of racism is. So, you know, the fact that, you know, all people are doing is asking people to just have an open mind and say, listen, this is affecting us from all walks of life. Just listen to us. That's literally all we're asking to do, because all we want to do is have a conversation. Yeah. Because conversing and understanding and comprehending is the only way this is going to turn around. This is not going to turn around from having the riots and the protests and everything else. It's not going to turn around from that. It's only going to turn around when people start listening, and not only listening to understand instead of listening to respond. So
let me ask y'all a question. So from what happened yesterday at the Capitol, do you really think eyes have been open, or is it just saving their skin for their political career, or us as America as a whole? Do you really think eyes have been open?
Well, as far as that's a two-part question for me, because as far as American citizens, I think a lot of American citizens' eyes were open, but as far as politicians, no, because you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was another issue that I had with what happened yesterday. All of a sudden, after everything happened, you started having these politicians, especially ones on the Republican side, you started having them say, oh man, you know, I condemn this, and you know, this is not the way, this is not the way. And the ones who were going to object to the Electoral College, all of a sudden they wanted to take the high road. This is like, no, you contributed to this,
right?
Because you've known, as has the rest of America, that there's been no evidence of widespread voter fraud, and you continue to throw this same tired storyline. This election was stolen. My video just froze up. Okay. You continue to say, you know, throw out these crazy conspiracy theories. You continue to do this. We've been trying to tell y'all that Donald Trump was dangerous, that Donald Trump did not belong in the White House. People had been telling them for the last 4 or 5 years what this dude was about. And when yesterday happened, I wasn't even shocked. I mean, it was literally a matter of time. And I mean, he had really been saying what he was calling for the whole time. When he started laying the groundwork back in 2019, when he started his campaign trail, he was already saying, one of his first speeches was, if we lose, the only way we lose this election is if it's rigged against us. He was already laying the groundwork for it then. So from a politician standpoint, no, I really didn't want to hear from a lot of them, because it's like, no, you contributed to this, because, you know, when this dude was doing all this other stuff in the background that led up to this, you didn't say anything. You know, you didn't call him on it when he was bringing about, I can't even name anything specific. I mean, there's so much of it out there, you know, but you didn't call him on any of this. You know, you was laughing about it. You were going along with it in a lot of cases. And now all of a sudden it took somebody dying, and it took for these people to do something that we've never seen in history before. It took all of this for you to see that what is really going on. It took all of that for you to see that, hey, what you're doing, this is not a game, this is real. And now 4 people have lost their lives. 4 families will never be the same, because these people were going off of conspiracy theories. They're watching these, you know, Fox News and Newsmax and One America Network is throwing around all this crazy stuff. And now all of a sudden, people want to wake up. When I saw Twitter disable Donald Trump's account, it's like, dude, now y'all want an applause for that? Like, dude, Donald Trump been throwing stuff out here he been throwing this bull jive out on Twitter for the better part of a decade. You know, I remember when he started saying,
Facebook did it too. Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, and I was upset with Mark Zuckerberg as well because, you know,
you call him Zuckerberg.
Yeah, man, because Zuckerberg, or as Lil Boosie calls him, Mark Zuckerberg. But I was upset with him because it's like, dude, you putting out this self-righteous statement that you've disabled his account, but bruh, you've been called on a Capitol Hill and Congress and Senate meetings and everything else, but to get a quell on the disinformation and everything else that's been put on over Facebook, and now all of a sudden you want to take this drastic action.
Everybody wants to get ahead of this.
Right. It's like, dude, your chance to get ahead of this was, 2 or 3 years ago. You could have been ahead of this.
But I want to bump in and answer that too.
Yeah. My bad, man. I got to go.
No. You good. What I think it is that it's like how you champion a person, and then when they don't become that person no more, you're ready to jump on the next bandwagon because you're still self-centered and you're only worried about your gain. And people don't see that because deception is one of the ultimate all-time winners, even though it shouldn't be. And I'm not saying it's like a good thing, because in the end it doesn't win, but it's at an all. Let me say it like this: deception continues to be at an all-time high, and it's for the greater good of like the selfishness that a person possesses. Because it's like Zuckerberg is looking like, or Twitter is looking like, well, in 13, 14 days there's going to be a new regime, so let me figure out the best way to just be cool, because the rest of the world and everybody else is still going to be using my platform, doing this, that, and the third, and I need to start on a new playing field. But it don't really work like that. But people are going to use it anyway, because I feel like social media is not going to get the backlash it needs, because it's an outlet for people to have the voice they think they have. And so at the end of the day, you'll always have it, whether they would have done that or not. Like Twitter's going to be popping next week and the week after. And as long as there's something to be trending, it's going to be popping. And as long as people want to keep taking pictures and say, look at me, this, I feel like this, I feel like that, then there's going to be Instagram, and then, Facebook, for the people to post their, thoughts and opinions as well. So for me, man, I don't know if it brought light. I think it just continued to like bring light to how people really think and feel. I just think that when things brush over, it'll possibly go back in certain regards to the way things were, because I don't think the one thing that people seek in life is power. And I don't know that people are willing to give up their power in retrospect of equality or some other things. Like power is bigger than like, equality or anything that sounds like somebody's going to have the same playing field. Like it's always got to be this, is, you know what I'm saying? If I'm going up, I got, and I feel like that's why I don't know that it will necessarily bring about as much change as we want. Now, I would like to be wrong, but I mean, in my short lifespan here on this earth, like you said, there's an understanding that we run this world and you just here. And, I'm not sure of any other way to perceive it in my shoes, because I've had to live that life or see those things happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's a sad truth, but hopefully, I mean, I'm hopeful, but I definitely understand reality, and I'm always okay with acknowledging the reality, so that I don't get so hopeful that I become oblivious to like what's going on.
Right.
So like I try to have a decent amount of reality and hopefulness simultaneously.
Let me answer that question. So
yeah.
So in the past, you see things happen, just tragic incidents that happen to people of color, Black, Latino, Asian, whatever, and it gets a little bit of news attention and then it just dies out.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Now, because of George Floyd and the Black Lives Movement, with that, I feel momentum going. I've never felt momentum. I feel momentum. Then with what happened yesterday, kind of, I want to say, propel that momentum to where I think it's teetering on the wall of which way is going to go. Are we going to get change, or are we going to stay? So that's what I feel. I feel like, American wise, I think eyes have been open. But as far as politicians, I think they're just trying to get ahead of something and staying with their careers, because that's why they close their eyes to a lot of dumb shit Donald Trump was doing to further their careers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So politicians, I don't think anything's changed, but I do feel some movement in America.
You're right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel the same way. Yeah, I agree 100%. Another angle from yesterday. Another thing that I noticed, and it's crazy to even say this, but actually, no, it's not, because with COVID going around, one thing I noticed yesterday, and this is going to be another thing to really pay attention to in the next 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of those people didn't have masks on. And I was that's another thing I was looking at. I'm like, bro, are you serious? Like, we in the middle of a pandemic right now. We still in the middle of the worst pandemic that we've seen in over 100 years. Exactly. And now we have this new variant of COVID that is, I guess, even more contagious than the other variants of COVID that's already been here. I guess that's
if you feel like you can break into a government building with appointed, lawmakers in there, what do you care about COVID for? What's COVID going to do you if you feel like you can break into a government building? It's just crazy to see how, and that just shows the thought process of some of these people. Whatever you want to call them, but this just shows the thought process. What's COVID going to do to me? That if I can walk right into this government protected building, push through the police, knock over police, and be escorted out nicely. What's COVID going to do to me?
Well, a lot of them didn't even believe in COVID. Oh, my bad, King. Go ahead.
No. So I found out something yesterday when I was amongst a few of my friends, is that there's a sector of DC that DC police don't like precinct. It's not their precinct.
Oh, yeah.
Their jurisdiction?
That's not. So a lot of the Capitol building areas and stuff is out of their jurisdiction, because I think I've heard people say, well, where were the police? Well, ma'am, when any of that stuff happens, that's out of their jurisdiction. That's out of the area that they police. So, like going back to what you said, like, when other people were protesting, Black Lives Matter was protesting outside the White House, I mean, they had these barricades and all of these police ready and all of this. So there is no reason that they should have been able to even halfway do that. Yeah, and then, I mean, there's so much to say behind that, but with the mask thing, well, let me ask this: have any one of y'all two had COVID?
No.
Nope.
I know I know quite a few people that have had it. I got a homeboy that's fighting right now.
I've had.
Oh, you got COVID? So okay. So with that, tell us your experience with that.
All right. So during the wintertime, I have allergies, and for me, I've learned how to keep them under control. So most of the time when they first flare up, it's like it can be I get a lot of head pressure and headache. So this particular day, I was like, man, I'm feeling a little drowsy. I was like, man, maybe it's getting this, I could feel the season changing. It was kind of about the, beginning of September. I was like, ooh, the weather, get older, your bones talk to you a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so like I started having like what I thought was like a headache from allergies, because I have like a lot of sinus.
Yeah.
Deal with like a lot of sinus pressure in and they turn into headaches. And so I I thought it was that, man. I took my temperature one day, and it was because my wife felt me, and she was like, "Man, you seem so hot. You okay?" Because I was real quiet. I was just watching TV, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, just thinking some allergies, headache go away." So, dude, she took my temperature. It was at 103.8. I was just sitting on the couch watching TV, just chilling with some cover on me. And she was like, "Babe, that's not good." So she started, putting like ice, like like a cold towel on my head.
So you
Got it
didn't
down.
you didn't feel hot? You didn't feel like you was burning? You just thought it was just a regular sinus infection?
I thought it was sinus. Yeah, man. Well, my pain tolerance is a little more higher, and so she took it, and so going through the night, she got it down to like 100.1 through the night. Like every hour, 30 minutes, she put a cool towel on my head and got it down. So the next morning, we woke up and went and took a COVID test. By the time I got to the place, I was at 99. So the fever had broke.
Right.
And I never got a fever again. And I took it and tested positive. Now, I never had loss of taste or smell. I just really dealt with like body chills and body aches and a little nausea. That's what I dealt with. And it was about maybe 3 days, 4 days at the most. But within a week, I was like pretty cool. Only thing I dealt with was after COVID was when I was hungry, I would feel nauseated. As soon as I eat, it would go away. Then maybe about a week or two after that later, that kind of went away. But other than that, I didn't have like such a horrible experience with it. Now, my wife did though.
Oh man.
Oh, wow.
See, and that's one thing about COVID, man, is how it affects different people so many different ways. Like it hit you, but it didn't hit as bad as it's hit other people. I there's been people, of course, like we all know, the asymptomatic people that they don't have any symptoms. I mean, they'll have it, but they don't have any symptoms. I mean, I have a friend that my homeboy up in Dallas, he had it about 2 or 3 months ago, and it knocked him down. I mean, it knocked him. I think he slept for about like 8 or 9 days almost straight.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he just said he was just fatigued, and
I think that's a coma.
he said, "What's up?"
I think that was a coma.
Man. So, he just started having this. Hey, man, that COVID. But see, I wonder if that's gonna be one of the things in the future. Like, man, you smoking that COVID, it got you knocked out.
Stop it. Yeah.
But
good job.
But it said, he lost his sense of taste, he lost his sense of smell. He was very fatigued and lethargic, and he was like that for about 8 or 9 days. And after about the 10th day, he started feeling better. And then, after about 2 weeks, I mean, he was back to normal. Then I got a homegirl back home. I mean, she's still fighting. She's been fighting COVID for like a month and a half. Like her mom and her grandma caught it. I got some other friends that caught.
Sound like they keep recycling through the house.
Man,
it sounds like they keep giving it to each other.
Yeah, they keep giving it to each other.
Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes with the COVID, people's symptoms don't go away in the 14 days. They say it can go away in 10 days. Sometimes less than that. I just because I know a girl who has COVID and double pneumonia, and she kept testing positive for COVID for like 3.5 weeks.
Oh, Jesus.
So it clearly, and now she's fighting the double pneumonia that she had. Well, but I'll say this. For me, I've become a little health nut as far as like supplements, and I like to think that just this routine of keeping because of work and I'm a 90 to nothing person, like all the time. Right. I think that my body just being in a good state, just something repetitious, that it was probably in a good position to fight it a little different. And I'm not saying I'm not a very sick person, so
right.
I can maybe count how many times I've been like extremely ill. When people are catching flu, I'm at the crib chilling. When people are catching this, like I'm like it's not really bothering me like that. So for me, I know pretty healthy of a person, and my parents are pretty healthy. And my dad was recovering from stage 4 cancer. and it hit him like on his tail end of him finding out that he had his last surgery. And then he was like, yeah, I got COVID, but it didn't affect him. And what's funny is through the whole time that he actually had like the cancer, like a cancer in his body, like he never caught COVID. But when he had the last surgery, like a couple of days after the surgery, like then he actually caught COVID, but it didn't hit him back. It didn't hit him hard.
Man, that's a blessing, because normally when you already got something going and COVID comes in and just.
Yeah, we were scared of that because that my dad did have stage 4 cancer, and 2.5 years ago the doctors gave him 2 years to live. And
how's he doing, by the way?
He's doing good, man. My dad's doing good. Thanks for asking, man. He's actually had 2 doctor visits and they can't find cancer. There's no more cancer.
Big ups to your dad, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
God is good. God is good.
Yeah, man. I'm gracious to God for his grace and allowing my dad to actually walk through a process that, they gave him 2 years to live, and it's been over 2 years. So I'm grateful. But yeah, man, he had it. My brother had it. My brother's wife had it, and like my brother did pretty well with it. It kind of hit his wife a little harder, but not too crazy. But they're pretty like healthy too. And so like I can't speak for everybody and say every healthy person is not going to have, any problems, because I know another person that was healthy that had it, man, and like they're using an inhaler.
Yeah, and that's
not
another
because
thing.
They need it every day, but they use it. But they use it as a means to kind of like
to breathe.
Like if they just feeling something weird, it's like, all right, cool, I can manage through the day. But it's like, yeah, man, COVID. And like over here, man, like I mean, if I flip my camera and show you my products down here, man, I definitely got a plethora of all the wipes. My house is clean. I'm OCD like a bug. I definitely keep hand sanitizer with me. I'm that person that definitely is cool with wearing a mask to be careful. Not because it's always me or I'm scared or I'm freaked out or it's taking away my rights. But man, it's just like anything else. Everybody is not always responsible. My mom used to tell me, when you're driving a car, you don't drive for yourself. You got to drive for other people, because most of the time, if I'm driving straight, nobody's on the road, and I ain't doing nothing stupid, and I'm not like impaired, there won't be a reason to wreck. Now, if it's raining and I feel like it's cool to just do 105, then cool. I'm asking for something to happen. But most of the time, like, we're driving for other people. And I think that's the same principle that you apply to like this situation.
The whole COVID situation.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like we're functioning. Like
we all in it together.
Yeah. And we got to dodge people who may have a sense of, I don't care. And then some people like me, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know my blood type. Clearly, I'm not O negative because the asymptomatic vibe did not go with me. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody don't know their blood type. So some people could actually have it and don't know it. And if you give it to the next person who is not asymptomatic, then boom, here they are dealing with something that may take a long time to actually heal from. So, I don't look at mask as a way, like shutting me up.
Hindrance,
I'm not looking at it like that, because I'm not closed-minded enough to think. I mean, I will always be, a mask is definitely, beyond me, but it's like the mask is just serving a small purpose. I use it when I need it, and when I don't need it, cool. I can take it off and function how I function, but I don't look at it as a means of like shutting me up or something. I mean, I don't look at a mask as a oppressive thing. I think people are taking it like that, and I don't really see it like that. Now, to each his own. I'm not mad at anybody who feels a certain way about nothing, because
I am.
I can't put. Well, you know what?
I am.
You know why? You know why I don't care though, bro? It's because if I put a lot of energy into how you care, then like it'll take away from what I'm trying to do.
No, I get you, and I understand, man. But if we're here and we're all in this together, I look healthy, you don't have a mask, I got a mask, I look healthy or whatever, but you don't know who I'm going home to. You don't know if I got grandparents in my house. You don't know if I got kids in my house. Like, so why not? And I don't know if you got kids in your house or you got grandparents. So why not just be safe? Period. You know what I mean?
100%, bro.
So if you can't see the value in being safe, oh, you taking away my rights, this and this. Hey, I don't care. I can't.
Well,
I can't
you know,
because now you go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you good. Keep on.
Oh, I lost my rant now.
Oh, my bad, man. Let me cut you off, man.
No, you good.
It's just for me. I never would have thought I would have saw the day when a presidential administration would actually tell the doctors and scientists they had no idea what they were talking about. You know, and then it was like when they started saying, you know, all you got to do is wear a mask. You know, if we wear a mask, we can, you know, kind of keep it under control. And, you know, and then but you know what? One thing COVID did, if COVID did nothing else, it exposed a lot of ugly truths. And one of the main ugly truths that COVID exposed was, and I wasn't even going to talk about this, but y'all just put it in my mind. One of the main things COVID exposed, one of our ugly truths, is just how entitled we are as Americans. And I say we collectively. Of course, you know, not us three, but, you know, when I saw people acting the way they were acting about, you know, stores requiring masks and people just asking you to wear a mask, it's like, dude, it's literally just a piece of cloth over your face. And, you know, then next thing you know, people are saying, oh, it's against my rights and I'm oppressed. And it's like, bro, you have no idea. You know, if wearing a mask makes you feel oppressed, you have no idea what oppression is. If wearing a mask makes you feel like you're losing rights, you have no idea what it is to lose rights. Because, you know, having somebody requiring you to wear a mask, we all know this. Somebody requiring you to wear a mask is not you losing rights. I mean, you still can be free to go and do whatever. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to masks is, now me personally, I'm a lot like you, King. I don't get sick very often. I don't deal with a lot of sicknesses. I don't, you know, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've had like an extreme illness like strep throat. I've had strep throat twice, and man, that strep throat ain't no B word like that. It felt like knives going down my throat every time I was trying to swallow food. I've had that twice in my life. I had it 2 years in a row. I still remember the years it hurt so bad. 2002 and 2003. I was knocked down for a week. I couldn't eat, and you know I like to eat. I was in pain. I was being tortured. But anyway, like for me, I don't know about everybody else, like, but even when they do get COVID under control, even when all the mask requirements and everything else go away, I'm still going to wear a mask after like Thanksgiving, because for me, not once have I had a cold or a sinus infection or anything this year. And normally from about Thanksgiving all the way to up to about this time, I've had one or the other, or in some years I've had both. I've dealt with none of that this year. So for me, I was just like, dude, even when all this stuff is under control, when these mask requirements and everything go away, I think after Thanksgiving, from post Thanksgiving to, I don't know, when the weather changed for the springtime or the spring solstice, whatever they call that meteorology, I'm gonna wear a mask whenever I go out, because man, I have not, and I do a lot of voice work. So, you know, for me to have a sinus infection or a cold, that can take money out of my pocket. So for me, around this time of year, I'm gonna have my mask. They can say whatever they want to say about me. Like King said earlier, you can call me soft, you can call me scared, whatever. I'm gonna have a mask on, man.
Yo, I got to piggyback. Something came to my mind when you said oppressed because of the rule, the stores having rules. So do we call it oppression, or do we call it taking away the rights when a club tells you have to have a certain dress code to get in this club?
Facts.
Do we call it taking away the rights when they say shoes and shirts required to come in the store? Was that taking away the rights?
Facts.
You know, is it taking away the right? You know what I'm saying? Is it taking away the rights when somebody say, well, no ball caps, or, you know, this, that, or, I mean, let's go even further. If you get a job and they say, no, on this job, you have to wear a hard hat in this area. You have to have your glasses on in this area. Are they taking away your rights because it's like, well, I'm responsible enough. I'm working in this construction area. I don't need a hard hat. But no, since it's money geared towards it, which is a sense of power, remember? Like now it's okay.
There you
we're
go.
doing something that contributes to our power. But actually, your health is your power too. Because if you're not healthy, you can't make money. So actually, your health should probably be a little more of a priority than like you know what I'm saying, how you feel about the money or how you power trip
Health as
about
well.
these. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you power tripping about something that they're actually trying to do to keep you healthy. And it's like, I mean, we're all going through something that we ain't been through together. So it's like, let's just wear the mask. And another thing, what about these other countries? Like, they are making us look like we are third world.
Oh, bruh. Like these other countries,
down.
they killing us with the way that they with the way they responded to COVID.
Japan ain't trying to let nobody in the country, bro. Not even from the UK, not even from Europe, nowhere, because they're like,
truth be told, we should have did that. I mean, people don't want to hear it, but that's the best way to contain it. I mean,
and then Canada is giving people 2 racks a month and saying, look, just chill at the crib. I know it may bother you, but go on the patio or something and then come back in or whatever. But
Canada ain't even letting us over there right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, I mean, I think we are so, like you said, we are, you know, spoiled. Like we have such an entitlement that like we can't even like comply to like for the greater good.
Exactly.
Like, yeah,
but
these people
again,
act like they ain't played no team sports before. Like,
but
no
again, that just goes back
to
to what you said, Ken. Just goes back to power. You know what I mean? So in their minds, okay, well, we don't have to do that because we're not sheep. You know, we're not sheep. We don't have to listen to everybody. Y'all are lower. We're higher. This is what our power is. We don't have to wear no mask. We don't have to worry about that because y'all sheep. And that's what everybody kept saying. Oh, we're not sheep. We're not sheep. Really? You're not sheep, but Trump tell y'all to go walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. That's what everybody do, like a bunch of sheep. I don't get it. I don't get it.
But hey. yeah. No, my bad, man. I'm over here bull jabbing around the camera. Okay, so like we're getting kind of towards the end. We're talking about COVID, and you know we know that COVID has affected everything. But I also want to, you know, it's of course affected sports. The NFL, they made it through their season, but they took quite a few lumps along the way. You know, a lot of they didn't have any games canceled, but they had a lot of delays. You know, you saw a few games like the game between the Broncos and the Saints where the Broncos didn't even have a quarterback. They had to call a wide receiver who was literally he was on the practice squad, but he was like selling lawnmowers or something like 2 days before, and they called him up. True story. I've never seen anything like it. And when I watched the game that Sunday, you could tell that, you know, I mean, you could tell he hadn't played. I mean, the dude played quarterback a little bit in college, but that was it. But anyway, and then, you know, you had the situation with like the Titans where they had to push that game back between them and the Steelers because they kept coming down with it. So with all that being said, and, you know, it's playoff football right now. I think there's 14 teams in it. I want to get y'all's Super Bowl picks. Who y'all think's going to be in the Super Bowl? And who do y'all think is going to win the Super Bowl? And then I'll go last, but I want to hear from y'all.
I know Kansas City. That's a given.
Oh yeah, they'll be there.
Let me see who else. Who you picking Super Bowl? And who else? It's hard. It's hard. Oh, my boy said Tampa might be able to pull something out. Wow.
Your boy is right. Because Tampa done got hot. Tampa got hot at the right time.
Yeah. I definitely would not bank on Tampa. On my word. Only thing that is going to kill Tampa is if they got to play Green Bay at Lambeau Field when it's 1 degree outside, a negative 28 degrees. And the Packers over there with their shirts off looking like,
yeah, because they used to it,
and Tampa over there like, man, not by the beach today. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, man, the NFC is a toss-up. I can't even really say, but I think it'd be probably Kansas City and Green Bay or Kansas City and like New Orleans. Because, you know, now that Drew Brees is back and Mike I can't think of his last name right now. Michael Thomas. I had a brain fart. Michael Thomas is back. So, like, I think they can make a run because, you know, if you're playing on that turf, like they'll be good. But them going to Green Bay to like duke it out 1 and 2, it can get hard for them because the other week when Tennessee played Green Bay, Derrick Henry didn't quite look like Derrick Henry.
Dude,
man, that Cole got a way of putting something on you in a different light.
You're right,
so
man.
I just think,
if you're not used to playing in that.
And then I just think Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are in a groove right now, man. Man, Devontae Adams is a problem, man.
He is.
He's actually like dope to watch, and I don't think he's getting enough accolades, in my opinion. I think they just talk about him for a few minutes and move on, but I'm like, the dude is single-handedly like a receiving core on his own.
He's Green Bay's version of Michael Thomas. Like whatever, I don't care what anybody says. You're right, but he gets overshadowed by the fact that his quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. But
absolutely,
Devontae Adams is, that dude, he's a lot of fun to watch. And really, like that whole Green Bay receiver, I ain't gonna say the whole receiver core, but Green Bay's offense as a whole is it's fun to watch because, man, Aaron Rodgers is just such a magician. Like,
but he wouldn't be a magician without Devontae opening up, and then their running game would not be as lucrative. Jones wouldn't be doing all that he's doing if Devontae Adams wasn't a problem, bro. It's like you put two people on him and he looking like two. That's it. All right, cool. Yeah. Let me do what I do. And then, of course, that starts to open up for the whole receiving core. So now it's like playing basketball. Pick and roll start happening, and that pick and roll working. Now we can dish to the corners and pass out. And if they can shoot, now you're trying to figure out who to, now everybody's just running in circles trying to figure out the best way to guard. And that's the same way with the Kansas City offense. Is like you got so many weapons that it's really hard to play, to guard these people one-on-one. So,
Kansas City is I don't know, man. I'm seeing something with the Chiefs that I know they have all the weapons on offense, but man, I don't know. Kansas City don't look like the Kansas City to me. It's something off with them, and I can't really put it. And the only reason why I say that is because if you look at Kansas City, I think I read a stat. I think it's like since what was it, like week 10 or week 8, whatever, week 7, whatever it was. Their margin of victory has averaged like 6 or 7 points. And I remember last year, Kansas City was like blowing teams out. But I guess for me, no, don't get me wrong. That's not to say that Kansas City is still not a problem. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know. It just seems like they're doing something different. I don't know what it is. I can't even point to because they still got, the best quarterback in the league, as much as I hate to admit it. Mahomes is still a problem. They got Tyreek and Clyde Edward-Helaire and Nicole Hardman, and what's that tight end's name? Travis Kelce. Yeah, they got all these weapons, man, and it's just, but I don't know. It's just something about Kansas City. They look different to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a Broncos fan and I hate the Chiefs, but but you know what? I do think the one team that could give Kansas City problems is the Buffalo Bills.
The Dallas Cowboys. No.
Oh no.
You know what? If Dallas had Dak, I could probably, because we seeing what Dallas is without Dak, bruh.
Well, the whole COVID thing. What took Dallas out? That's COVID.
And y'all need to get a new defense.
I sound like a Trump supporter, boy. I'm fake news and everything.
Dallas need to get a new defensive coordinator because Mike Nolan ain't it, bro. Nolan ain't it.
Listen, Jerry Jones needs to release himself and let somebody else.
Yes, he does. That's another one of Dallas.
Oh yeah, Jerry Jones.
I don't have no favorite team, but shame on you, Drew, for wearing that on the first episode to start it off. I
can't hate him. I got, I'm supporting my boys, so But
I'll say this. Only thing I'll say to this is, let's see how COVID affects the playoffs with who gets because the playoff is like 1 week, then right the next week, and it's like, you could actually like miss that whole week, and depending on what day you get it, you can miss the next game. So like it can mess around and mess like COVID is a 12th man that will be a determining factor in these playoffs. And going back to COVID in sports is I can appreciate the NBA. Shout out to the NBA because they do things so much differently. And I think the NFL should have maybe tried to catch on a little bit more. Because in my opinion is I'm feel like, you know what? Let's host the playoffs in one location, 1 or 2 locations. Let's have it tournament style. You can still play 3 games in one day because they're doing it all at different times. Like, we don't have crowds. Let's play on a turf field. We ain't got a bunch of things that change out. You know what I'm saying? And have enough time between the games where, I mean, these stadiums big enough or you know what I'm saying? Like, that's because I think COVID is going to play. I feel like it's going to end up hitting somebody.
It's going to hit some. Well, it's already going to hit the Saints because, you know, what's his name is out. Alvin Kamara, he had to miss last Sunday's game because he ended up catching it. Actually, all 3 of their running backs had to miss the game because they had contact with him. Matter of fact, it's already hit the Browns. They're not going to have their head coach.
Exactly.
This coming weekend when they I think they're going to miss a head coach and like a few players.
And Baker Mayfield was like, we don't need to. Practicing is not a problem.
Yeah, bruh, you crazy. Man, you know what? But I guess my Super Bowl pick, man, I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Buffalo on the AFC side because I want to see the Bills. Yeah, I would love to see the Bills represent the AFC in the Super Bowl because they've been garbage for so long. And they quarterback, Josh Allen, I like what he's doing. But I think it's going to be Buffalo on the AFC side. On the NFC side, I'm going to have to say Green Bay. I would like to see New Orleans because this is more than likely Drew Brees' last year. And I would love to see Drew Brees get another ring because I'm a big fan of his. But I just, you know, like King said, I don't see New Orleans being able to go up there to that tundra in Green Bay and that cold weather. Now, if God throws an anomaly out there and the weather in Green Bay is like, you know, 50 or 60 degrees and all bets is off. But if it's like it normally is this time of year, I don't see New Orleans going in there. A dome team having to play in that weather. Yeah. So I'm going to say Buffalo and Green Bay in the Super Bowl.
That ain't a bad game because Josh Allen throwing to, what's my boy's name?
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs, man. That guy left Minnesota and was like, all right, let me show y'all something.
Right.
I got something. Give me a quarterback that's just going to at least put the ball somewhere near me, man. I feel like him and Devontae Adams don't be getting enough like accolades, man.
They don't.
Like,
because I mean, Stephon Diggs changed life in Buffalo. I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, because they killed Denver a few weeks ago, and so you know, I'm a little upset.
It's easy to kill Denver. Come on,
hey man, watch your language, man. Don't be getting on the podcast cussing, man. Don't be getting on the podcast cussing, man. You know,
Denver wasn't even good when Peyton was there. What the defense?
Hey man.
Yeah, defense was.
That was that defense. Yeah,
he's gonna get kicked out the room, bro.
Yeah. No, man.
The
last year, I mean, everybody knows it. Well, I'm gonna say this about the 2015 Broncos, and we almost done. We just bull-jiving, but I'm gonna say this about the 2015 Broncos. Not only did Peyton's body start falling apart, but one thing a lot of people don't talk about is they switched the offense on it. That offense they was running in 2015 wasn't Peyton's offense. That was Gary Kubiak's. And, you know, Gary Kubiak, he liked that West Coast, that zone blocking scheme. And Peyton was all about the shotgun and the power running game. So, you know, and then they went through and they tried to merge the both of them. And the Broncos got a lot of lucky breaks that year. And I remember running into DeMarcus Ware in Walmart one day, randomly out in Grapevine. Super cool dude. And I asked him, I was like, bro, what was it about the 2015 season that just made it that special? And I mean, the dude literally told me, he was like, man, look, we as a defense, we knew everything was going to fall on us. So we just went out there and we had to ball out. And he said, you know, people can make what they want to make about Peyton in the offense. But, you know, that's the thing about a team is, you know, those nights when we knew Peyton in the offense didn't have it, we knew it was going to come down to us in the defense. And he was like, man, look, we welcome the pressure. You know, we didn't run from it. Like we liked the fact that, look, this is on us. We got to go out here and we got to get it. So, man, bro, that was a cool conversation, bro.
Yeah, that linebacker crew with Trevathan, and then they had him, DeMarcus Ware, and Von Miller on
defense. Von Miller.
They both were animals at the time. I mean, we talking about 5 years ago. I mean, Von Miller is probably, I don't know what he's doing.
Well, he was injured this year, so.
I know. I was just being funny, but
see, man, we're gonna end this, man. You know.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm messing with you.
That year, but I mean, bro, all they were doing, they was like piranhas.
Yeah,
bro. You could, and then wasn't Talib on the
Talib, Talib in the secondary, Chris Harris Jr.
I never liked that dude Talib, man.
Are you on the Talib fan?
No, not at all, bro.
But the dude is he's good at football. Well, he was good at football.
He's a very good football player. He's a color commentator now.
Who?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Talib. Yeah, I didn't like his attitude, man.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them. He's definitely one of them. He was one of them. He was one of those boys that he just did not care.
Snatching people's chains.
Yeah, he was Debo on the field, snatching chains and everything, man.
Yeah, man, he's doing too much, man.
But yeah, well, you know what? That wraps up our first episode of the Brothers Being Brothers podcast. Fellas, y'all want to say anything? Like, this has been a blast. I love it.
Yeah, man.
I would just like to say, go ahead. My bad.
No. That's all I was saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just like to say, yeah, man. I think it is a blessing that we can be on here to give our opinion, to reach people who maybe need some advice. And I like that this is a platform to do that. And I know we'll have more content. This is our first show, but I know we'll have more content that, might actually start touching, people that may have problems, and may give them certain options to do. So, I mean, I think it's a good platform, and I'm very honored to be on it, man.
Yeah, I piggyback on that. Like earlier today, since it was the first podcast, I know I'm comfortable and I'm just talking, but it was like, man, just in case I get choked up, I'm gonna write down stuff. And I wrote down something. I was like, I think this will be a good place to help be a light in a confused world. And I also said, people use the word bro or brother. They use them usually as someone they consider close or loyal to them, like a really good friend. So I was like, we want to keep that idea when presenting ideas, opinions, and information and content in order, to be a help. And so
right.
I think that's what I'm looking forward to. It is, not that, my words are just going to change anybody, but hopefully I can say something that sparks an interest, or hopefully any one of us can say something that can help be cool, as well as be some form of light and entertainment, because I think we all need laughter. We all need the even balance of like laughter, heart checks, tough conversations, and all of that stuff. And so I'm looking forward to, for us as three educated, young, handsome, smart, God-fearing Black men, to speak on a platform that actually has no boundaries, but we're staying within safe boundaries for people to feel safe, to be able to, listen,
express themselves,
and be like, man, and just be like, man, this is a dope place to, like, take 1 hour out of the day while I'm driving home in traffic and be like, man, those guys are on. I'm looking for their next episode. So yeah, as a first episode, man, I'm, sorry that I had to start amid such horrible things going on.
Right.
But I'm excited that like we are like getting it going and starting top of the year fresh, doing something dope. Brothers Being Brothers podcast is something I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to it too, man. And I guess for my last little parting shot, I guess I would say, first of all, I want to, of course, thank the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving us the resources and the opportunity to do this. But I also want to thank y'all for hanging in there. I know this thing took a lot longer than what any of us expected. But thank y'all for hanging in there, and thank y'all. It's an honor to do this with y'all. So, I'm honored to be on this platform with y'all, and I'm honored that y'all chose to be here with me, and I'm honored that y'all stuck in there with me, man. Because man, as long as this thing took to get together, y'all could have been like, man, you know what, bro, I ain't gonna be able to do it, dog. Now y'all stuck in there with me, man. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, and thank you. And to the people out there, look, this is just the first episode of many, and we want to be a positive influence in all too often dark world. And we hope that, if one thing that we say, touches one soul out there, and it has a positive influence, hey, then, our job is complete. So, we want to thank y'all for taking this time out and being with us, and we'll be back with you next week. And like I always say, do your best and let God handle the rest. Be blessed.